In today's podcast, you are going to meet Kathy Lentz. Now, if you need any of her contact information, it will be provided in the links underneath our podcast information. But Kathy is the owner of Kindred Soul. And what does she do there? Well, she is an officiant and a celebrant. She works in conjunction with the funeral homes to make sure that she's getting the messages clear of the stories and the intention of the people that passed and what their family and friends want to share during their celebration of life or their memorial service together. Now, she moves outside of just the traditional funerals and offers those services for other milestones in life. But this podcast is to help motivate my listeners, the ones here on Earth, that many of them are on their own due to widowhood, to share the details of what they want to happen with them, with their bodies, with a party that might ensue, or no party whatsoever. Please list and be motivated by this conversation to communicate with those you love, or even just at the end of your estate documents, some of your wishes for end of life. That's one guarantee in life. And it will make a blessing in life a little easier. Maybe add some smiles to our family members that are helping make these plans the day that we're gone. So sit back. Give yourself a little listen. If you're commuting for a half hour, you can get this whole podcast done there. And listen to what we'll call, making sure you plan your own funeral. Make it a little fun. Thanks. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Widow, Wisdom, and Wealth podcast. I am your host, Donna Jean Kendrick, and I am very excited to have a conversation today. And ladies and gentlemen listening, this is one of the purest conversations. We haven't talked about any script or anything else. You're just going to hear two people who want to learn about one another, learn about how we can literally, I'm going to say, plan your own fun funeral. If there's anyone here that's been listening to me in the past or seen any of my social medias, they know that it's something very important to me, that a lot of my widows, my widowers, my divorcees make the decisions for their funerals while they're alive, and to share that joy and to be able to share that preparation with the family beyond them. So when they do pass, it's set. Right? It takes a lot out of it. My story itself, many of you might have known that my second husband, his ex-wife, passed away. And before her passing, about 3 months beforehand, she planned her own fun funeral with a big cake that said, "Put the fun back in funeral." Invited everyone she wanted to see, shared the pictures she wanted to share. There was beer and wine flowing, and introduced many layers of the family that hadn't met one another before, because we were going to be carrying on to raise her kids. It was beautiful, and it was such a gift to her kids. So when I met Kathy Lentz, I was like, oh, she can share this a bit more than me as to why it's important, all of her experiences. And so here's a little bio of our sweet Kathy Lentz. So Kathy is owner of Kindred Soul, and she is a certified life celebrant who specializes in life celebrations by helping people plan events like funerals, graveside services, memorial celebrations, and gatherings at traditional and non-traditional locations, scattering of ashes and things like that. Kathy also helps people create and plan expressions for life's memorable moments, and also can help with corporate events, celebrating new business ventures. Many of our listeners are balancing career or new businesses while raising kids in widowhood. So this is good to know. And she also helps people if they're going to celebrate a new business location or something through their corporate events. You could call her an event planner, but more than anything, she's one with soul and one with purpose. So there's no one best to talk to about putting the fun in the funeral, the seriousness of it, planning it for yourself, and also celebrating the life that we are living now than our sweet Kathy Lentz. Welcome, Kathy. Thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you, Donna. Thank you for having me. Uh, I was just thinking about what you shared about the passing of the children's their mother.
Yeah, children's mom. Yep.
And what a gift she gave them. Truly admirable, although difficult, I'm sure, for her, but she certainly helped her loved ones maybe resolve a little bit of the grief that they were experiencing, and knowing that it was her that prepared for that. That's the ideal situation, the absolute ideal situation. I wish there were more folks like that. In my experience, I find, so I'm a resource for families, for funeral homes, uh, anyone that's experiencing a health challenge. I'd say the majority of the services that I provide are I am contacted through a funeral home or a cemetery, and the person already is deceased.
Okay.
So what I have to do is learn as much as I possibly can from um, their living family members, maybe what some of their conversations were, in order to put together a very meaningful and memorable service for them. And I have done so many services over the last decade, from very young children to World War II veterans,
Mm.
um, bringing in personalization of some of the things that they've experienced in their lives, also adding some humor. There is certainly a balance to everything, but I have done some. When I think about some of the most funny, I don't want to say funny. That's not the right
You
word.
can say
Uh,
funny.
I can say funny. Some of the
Yeah.
funny services that I've done in the past, I should really be jotting them down, because I have had so many different types of things, and usually it pops into my head at the inopportune times. Like I'll be out gardening and then something comes popping into my head, and it's like, oh my gosh.
We call
But
that divine downloads, just to let
I
you
always
know.
say that, like it's like a divine intervention, like, hey, or a song comes to my mind, and then I end up hearing, comments from families afterwards. How did you come up with that, song or whatever? So I usually have a theme in mind when I learn about somebody, and I kind of follow a theme. It just helps me kind of keep a flow
Mhm.
for that. And I'm truly blessed. There's so many people that I would not have ever met had I not been doing this.
How did you
And
get into this?
um, so looking back, I can see all of the pieces that kind of put me together to where I am now. I had worked at a hospital system for a long time in the Lehigh Valley.
Mhm.
Loved everything that I did there. I was in administration. I was in the development office. Raised money for the hospital. Attended and was part of many special events. Uh, my boss at the time was retiring from his job as a vice president of development, and I had been working with him for a number of years, and I thought maybe it was a time for me to explore other things. So another position came up within the network, and I applied for it, and that was the volunteer manager for hospice.
Okay.
So I got myself involved in that, and met the most fantastic, amazing souls you would ever want to meet. And that is where I realized that there was something missing in many people's lives. Some people don't have an organized religion per se. It does not mean that they are not faith-filled or spiritual. Um, and so I knew a lot of people in the funeral industry by being there. And one of my mentors was a funeral director, and I was reaching out to him for, about 18 months, kind of just talking with him through things. Not that I really wanted to be a funeral director, but I wanted to work in the industry. And because I felt that I had the compassion and the empathy that I could provide. So we were talking one day, and he suggested, I guess it was a brochure that kind of came across his desk. And he said, I thought of you right away. You have this skill set here. Maybe you might want to take this training. It's coming up really fast, though. It's like 2 weeks from now. I called, and it was in Princeton, New Jersey, not too far from where, the Lehigh Valley is. I knew no one. And I went away. It was, a 3-day intensive training.
Oh, wow.
Of course, met people afterwards, and I knew at that point that that's what I wanted to do or get involved in. The next step was like, how am I going to do this? It was a huge leap of faith. So I literally started to contact some of the people I knew in the funeral business and asked if I could chat with them and tell them. And, going back a decade or so ago, things were a little different then. There was not this more open minded um, atmosphere or things changing like they are now. Um, so my very first service was for the man that encouraged me to do this.
Oh,
It was
wow.
for a young child. And I did it. And then I was like, okay, now what? Sadly, that mentor ended up passing away unexpectedly 2 months later. And I was like, oh my gosh, now what? What am I going to do? And I just thought, he helped me. I needed to kind of just sell myself by going into meetings or conversations with some of the funeral folks. And that is what I did. And slowly but surely, I still believe I'm riding the wave. The wave is about to crest. It's taken that long, but you are going to see more and more people wanting to maybe talk to someone who can help them plan a celebration. After all, we are the only ones who truly know ourselves.
Yeah. And what kind
And
of experience we want for the people that we love and
yes,
around us, right? And to take that
yes,
pressure off their shoulders by pre-planning it, whether they're adding
absolutely.
humor or pieces of themselves or things
Hmm.
that they truly believe they want celebrated, right? Like they please
Absolutely.
include this. I know I'd make
Yes.
very different decisions for a funeral for myself than I would for my husband, than I would for my mom. I know
Sure.
I would because of my point
Yes.
of view. So,
Yes,
okay.
absolutely. And, I've had my own personal experience while going through this with both of my parents passed within 2 years of each other. My dad very suddenly, my mother had a chronic illness, um, and handled their services for them, managing the whole process, even there after business stuff that you deal with your clients. And I think looking back on that, both of their services, although very different, did outline the types of human beings they were. Had I not been doing this, I don't know, I really don't know. But I feel very blessed that I was part of that. I also think that as people are preparing for their own funerals or maybe end of life financial help that they need when they retire, there's nothing wrong with sharing what you might like to have with someone. I mean, it may make them feel a little awkward, but that's really because we as a society don't really talk too much about death.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
we don't want to go there, even though we are all going to experience it at some point in time. Um,
Yeah, we joke in this industry because, my day job, I'm a financial planner, and we're like, there's no guarantees in life, except you will pass. Like you
yes,
will. Like it's
yes,
one of those guarantees, and you're like, okay, I'm the marketplace right now to help you for what we know is a known. We don't know the ups and downs in the market. We don't know if you'll be able to fund X in a retirement. We can do models, we can suggest it, but we don't know that. And to your
right.
point, I love this is here at my practice this year, we actually just got, I guess you call it a tech service, which is almost like one of those online portals that you can create your will, power of
Oh,
attorney over
yes,
healthcare, power of attorney over finances. And we're sharing it with our clients on a complimentary basis. Why? Because most of my clients are either widowhood, divorce, or blended family. They all need it. And my
yes,
soul hurts when life is so busy because we're widows and widowers raising kids and trying to keep our career together that we put the estate documents last for your very point of nobody wants to talk about passing, right? So to
right.
be able to say, okay, it's 1 year that we're going to give it to you complimentary. So take us up on it, like encouragement to get them to do it, right? My
Yes.
husband's a notary. You can come in here, we'll get it done. Like
Oh,
that's
that's
great.
wonderful.
And honestly, Kathy, that's why knowing your genuine nature, I really wanted to have you on this podcast because you're the
Oh,
very next step. When people hand us back these documents and we're going to scan them and put them into their portal, it's going to be the next step is, can you outline what you want to do for your funeral or your celebration, even if it's none? And I want to be able to reference this podcast for them so they can see what do they need to do. And the
yeah.
gift of sharing the message yourself for
Yes.
when you're not here anymore to those that you love.
Oh,
So if
absolutely.
someone had to say, like I'm talking a lot about preparation, planners in the name of my title. Like you can tell I drive people nuts who aren't planners. I say I mommy them instead of saying I plan them. What would be the things that you would say if you sat down with someone and they're like, listen, like I'm healthy, I'm good. This might be 30 years later, but these are the things I want to see. What would you guide them through? What did they collect? What thoughts should they have? What ideas do they have to consider?
I would have a conversation about, tell me a little bit about the passions that you love in your life. You know, maybe they love to fish and what that meant to them. What maybe they found their spirituality in nature, gardening. Kind of like list some of your ideas there. What your family members who are the closest people in your life that you would want to have a pre-planned funeral, like gifted already, like they have the ideas from the actual person in their family. Like, so when I meet with families that have lost a loved one, a lot of times I will, I'll talk to whoever's the contact person, whether it's a spouse or a child, whatever. And a lot of the questions I will say, um, did your loved one express any type of, would they like to have a passage or a psalm or a song or anything? Did they share any of those things with you that meant something to them that we could include in their service? And I say, we always can do whatever it is you would like. Uh, I get some requests for songs that the family's like, oh my gosh, maybe this shouldn't be a song for them. It might be maybe a heavier rock song. It doesn't matter, you know, as long as you're honoring the person who has died and bringing some comfort to the ones living. That's all that matters. At the end of the day, the person who has passed. The loved ones that are remaining, they're the ones that are really left with the feelings, the emotions, and all that. So you want to be able to have like a little bit of a balance in their service so that they can move forward in their grief.
Do you think that most people are pretty well planned? Like, as the family members come to you, the spouse or the kids, the next generation, and they say, okay, here's like, I mean, even the basics, here's the permit to the plot, or this is where the interment's going to be, and this is the box of pictures we want, or is it like just really during this time of grief, they're trying to pull it together quickly, or putting off that celebration of life so they do have time to plan? Like, what stage do you find people coming to you most?
Okay, I find so some of the things you're mentioning, they'll deal with a funeral director on.
Hmm.
Um, some people are very forward thinkers and they have some of that. The majority of people that I deal with, they're just in such a state.
Yeah.
They don't know. We've never done anything like this before. Um, you know, uh, I don't know. I don't know what dad would have wanted. He never said anything. So then you got to dig a little deeper
Yeah.
and try to find out, and I'll talk to as many people as I can to learn about dad or, I don't like to repeat what's in an obituary. I can get that information from there. Uh, and it is interesting. A lot of people will just open up once they feel comfortable with you. So, I guess I am a listener. I will let them speak whatever they want to say. I hear it. I don't necessarily put everything in that they're telling me because it's not appropriate. And I let them know that what is shared is between all of us, and I will arrange it so that it just has a nice format and a tribute to that
I love
person.
that. And will you help with the details from finding the venue to what does it look like to not just being the celebrant of that day?
That's very interesting. And so, right spot on that you would ask me that. That's
Ooh,
one of the next things that I would like to get involved in
I
and take that off of their plate as well. Because Donna, some of the things that happen, these people lose somebody. They're planning a service, they're planning a social event afterwards. Most times it's a luncheon or whatever. They have not even taken a moment to breathe about the person that they have lost.
Mhm.
And yes, I've thought about that a lot. Like, I've had some conversations with an individual about this would be a nice added, I don't know what the word, not an added
Yeah, service and added value.
service,
Yeah,
service,
yeah.
added value. Yes, added value to their service, to their help,
And
because
then you
they
can
need
have
that.
trusted contacts. Like we
Yes.
know that if you're looking for something that's a little fun and lighthearted, right? Like there's a
Yeah.
big difference, and all right, listeners, I'm gonna be me. There's a difference between an Irish wake and a Polish
Yes.
Catholic service.
Yes.
Very different,
Very
right?
different.
Like one can be
Mhm.
very proper, might take a while. There is a dinner afterwards or a luncheon, and it's solemn at times, right? And the other
Yes.
one is roll the keg into someone's basement. That's going to
Yeah.
continue on during the services. Let's go, right? And I'm just putting things in the categories from my own life events. That's
Yes.
all. I'm not generalizing. I'm just saying there's a difference. But it's
Right.
wonderful if you could provide that service of we know the venue that can feel and
Mhm.
present what you want out of this, right? And that the
Yes.
decisions don't have to be made more than just it's A or B, not find the location, find the date. And you'd be that person with those relationships, almost like the project manager of the entire event, not
Yes.
just the officiant that knows the family now at an intimate level, right?
Exactly. Yeah,
Love that for
that's
you.
it. I have been thinking about that for several months and
Okay.
just trying to, how do I see that happening? I have ideas. Let's just put
Okay.
it that way.
So many of our listeners, again, are either career changers, right, because
Okay.
of a pivotal moment in their life, or
Mhm.
they're starting on their own businesses, entrepreneurship. So just know that this was the moment and this is when it happened and you have it, right? This is it. Start moving with it. And it's really having that idea and saying, like, how am I going to do it? Well, then we're just going to put that action forward. So you've witnessed it here, listeners. Kathy's
Oh,
going to do it. I love it. And you already shared like how you took that pivotal movement out of the Lehigh Valley hospital system, knowing that someone, a mentor, encouraged you, right? And then you're
mhm.
like, okay, how do I do it? You didn't know anyone when you went to a 3-day retreat about how to do this, right?
No.
And you did. And even when there was that pivot of your mentor passing, well, out of the energy you had rolling, out of the respect for him knowing that you were good in this, you continued on. And 10 years later, you're the person that you go to, right? Like
Yes.
amazing. And you've
Yes.
modeled that. I thought we were just talking about how to do your own fun funeral and how to find an officiant, but you're modeling for our widows and widowers with an opportunity of career change, how to take that deep breath. Sometimes you have to leave the norm and just start. So I can't wait to see where you go with these services. It's going to be
Oh,
fantastic. It's going to be
yes.
great.
And I will share with you at another time just some of the experiences I've had that
Give us
I
a
know.
funny one.
Yeah, what's that?
Give us a funny one.
So this was a few years ago, and it was a young woman, and she died. I should say suddenly,
Okay.
suddenly, and she was like comic relief. That's all I mean, that was like the whole theme of the people I interviewed. Her husband talking about comic relief. And did you ever hear of the Red Nose Day?
Yes.
We put the noses on. So they were saying that she always had the last word, and she was always just hysterical. She had a huge crowd of people at the service, and so I cleared this and made sure that it was okay. But I did order the little red noses, and at the end of the service, I had everybody put on the little red noses in memory of her.
Oh,
And um, that one stands out very much in my mind. I mean, her husband, you could see him, he even smiled,
Yeah.
that she was part of that room at that. I just got the chills, part of that room at that time. And all her dearest family and friends sat there. Who would have ever put on a red nose like that? But they did.
Yeah.
They did it for her.
Yeah.
So, those are some of the quirky things that come popping into my head.
Yeah.
And I will share other ones with you when I see you, but that one is the first one that came
Yeah. Well,
into
thank you for
mind.
sharing that because now I have like in my head a vision of everyone at that
I
funeral
know,
when
right?
everything's done smiling because they have a
Absolutely.
red nose on and at one another. So when you're turning around, you're walking down that aisle or you're leaving, right? Yeah, there may be tears, but there's smiles in the room and red noses.
Yes.
Like, how
Yes.
fantastic is that? And if that, my listeners, if at the end of your estate documents you want to say, are there any specific funeral plans? Yes, it could be a green funeral, it could be cremation, it
Mhm.
could be, those are the specifics. But you could say, I would like a box of red noses, right? And in lieu of that, please donate to whatever
Mhm.
foundation it is that's raising money for red noses. We can't endorse anyone, so I can't say it here,
Right.
but go ahead and Google that.
Yeah.
But those are some great ideas. And I'll even share, I don't know if, have you ever heard my story about after my husband passed, because he passed suddenly,
Yes.
and the photos in the vestibule of the church?
I don't know about the photos. I did
Oh.
hear your story about how you got involved into your business and everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this is
Okay.
more of husband passed, I think it was a Saturday. And we had the services on a Tuesday. It was just
Yeah.
massive and quick, and we were pulling things together. We lost him suddenly. I was 40, he was young, no one expected it.
Wow.
And I leaned in on my in-laws to help with those funeral arrangements. And sadly, because I'd lost both their parents, we just followed that script. All right, this is where we're having the viewing, this is the church, this is where we're having the reception. It was almost like a known factor of this is how Kendricks do the funerals. And I, to this day, am thankful because they did all the heavy lifting as I sat there in a little bit of shock, right? Here we
Of
go.
course. Of
Well, they also
course.
submitted all of the photos, right, that are going to be used on the photo boards and the type of viewing that we had. We had the viewing in the church where he grew up, but there's a vestibule when you walk into the church before you start down the aisle. And so we had these big, they were like almost like looked like photo banners, like three big posters on top of one another. And it was supposed to be my husband with each of our three kids, and then me and him at the bottom. So my in-laws and I walk in at like 7 in the morning to this funeral, and they unroll the posters, right? I actually think they were already up. I think the church had already put them up, and it's my husband in the snow with my child, my husband at Halloween with my one son, my husband at Eagles game with my other son, and a picture of my husband with a wax dummy of Sofia Vergara.
Oh my gosh.
Like, there was
Yeah,
no picture of
there
me
was no picture of you.
anywhere. So 3 months before he had passed, we had gone to Las Vegas on like a finally a couple's getaway after we had moved stateside and the whole bit. And we went to the Wax Museum and he loved Sofia Vergara. I was like, this is
Uh,
me the closest you ever get to her. And he took a picture next to the wax figurine. That was the picture that came up at that
that
funeral that was
funeral.
in there. There was no picture of me anywhere. It was not due to my in-laws. It was like a mix up with the funeral home. And I am forever
Oh,
thankful for that
yes.
because
Yes.
like almost like the red noses, like I was like, yup, if you're up in heaven and you feel like you were with Sofia Vergara this entire marriage, awesome.
Yes. There you
Like
go.
you're happy and up
Yeah.
there. And
And
it has
also,
it's given us a story to share with
yes.
everybody and the smiles and the questions of people going into that funeral, like, why is there Greg with Sofia Vergara in the church vestibule? Like, thank you. Like it lightened everything. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
And that's just that lightened that experience for all of your guests that were there. It
Yeah.
just gave them a little bit of a, oh my gosh, look at him. Look at
Yeah.
him. Like, you know what I mean? It was a conversation starter.
And
So,
even
and
when
it
they were like,
was,
when did they meet him? When did he meet her? I'm like, he didn't.
yeah,
It was a wax figure. It's a good one, right?
that's a great story.
Yeah, but I share that because I want my clients and the people listening to know, like funerals, yeah, like again, we want to avoid the topic many of times of us passing or someone else making the decisions, and it's okay if you're like, no, someone else can make that decision. I'm dead. I don't care, right? But
Yeah.
it can be a blessing, right? And we
Yes.
can add beautiful tribute moments. It doesn't have to be all sadness. And if we really do help our loved ones by writing some things down or
Yeah.
making a connection. Like, I want to make sure that Kathy does the eulogy, that Kathy helps with this, or that it's at this Irish bar afterwards. Like, do that.
Yes.
It gives a
Uh,
parameter for the people we leave behind to almost launch from, right? Like,
yes.
mine's
Yes.
going to be a kibasi truck. That's it. That's all I want. I don't want any big funeral. I want a kibasi truck to come to the house and people can come visit, right? And eat kibasi. My entire friend group and my family will now send me pictures when they see a Polish food truck
They're gonna.
anywhere. Being like, we have a list, we're connecting it, right? And how much fun is that, right? That
Yeah.
we're already doing it and I have no intention of leaving for another 50 or 60 years, right? Like,
Exactly.
yeah, we have a long
Exactly.
lifeline.
We have you live it every day.
Yeah.
Focus on, the present moment. I've already said to my husband, okay, I would like to have a happy hour with different types of wines and cheeses, and all my friends and family gather together and we just have a wonderful time.
Love it.
That's it.
That simple and that
Yes.
beautiful, right? And
Yeah.
if you need someone to help because you're in grief, you lean into
Yeah.
services like Kathy, lean into your funeral director, ask them for the resources of someone for, do you know what? Sometimes those funeral directors, ooh, they have the connections who can help plan this. Where's a financial planner that can help because I'm a widow now or a widower? Is there an attorney with estate documents? You'd be surprised how well connected these funeral directors really can be.
Oh
And
yeah.
a lot of people will give you a lot of advice when you're at the funeral, right? Or planning it. Always remember, like you can make the decisions with you. And I love that you said that. Like there's one or two contacts that you work with during this planning process, your trusted
Hmm.
resources, limiting the noise of everyone that can come in and influence the day. Correct?
Yes, correct.
Good.
Correct.
All
Yeah.
right, we're going to let you have the final words, Kathy. Give us some wisdom. What wisdom do you have for the listeners out there, whether they are helping with maybe their parents passing, or if it's the intention is, please make your own plans, get your estate documents, reach out to me. I'll send you the link, and then put some of the fun funeral for yourself or your own desires listed. What wisdom would you have?
The wisdom I would share is to don't keep thinking that, oh, I'll deal with it. Just sit down and, think about what you would maybe like, maybe share some of these things. Put Donna in as a resource as well. She's experienced some of these things with the clients she already serves. Um, be open with your family,
Mm,
just be open with them and just say, hey, maybe this is something we should think about.
yeah,
And, just have the conversation
yeah,
about, how would you like to be remembered? What is your story?
yeah,
Um, After all, it's all about, I always have this thing like every life should be remembered, every person should be honored. And it doesn't have to be some long, drawn out whatever. You
yeah,
just want to remember the person that you shared life with.
yeah.
It could be, I think that just have those conversations.
Yeah, I love it because you're right. If my husband, current husband, number two, was sharing with you the highlights of my life, there'd be a big 15, 20-year period of my first marriage that he might not be able to enlighten you on, right? Not
Right.
with as much depth as somebody else. So
Hmm.
writing those things down, I love that wisdom. Be open to
Yeah.
getting it done, right? To have the conversation. I
Hmm.
love that. I love that.
Yes.
There's one
Yeah.
exercise that I've done personally. Have you ever heard of the book Hero on a Mission?
I have not heard of that. I thought you were going to say five wishes.
It's a good one. That's a good one
Okay.
too. But
Yeah.
Hero on a Mission is kind of for people that are like, again, who our listeners are, people that are managing career or maybe a change in life. And what do you want to look at next
Mhm.
year, 5 years, 10 years? But at the very end, you write your own eulogy. And it's a part to go ahead and say, like, where do I want to be? Like to drive
Yeah.
ourselves to that future. Like Kathy's is going to be, she was a leader in doing concierge services for funerals, right? Like
Hmm.
Kathy, as well as administering them. That's
Yes.
what we're going to call it, concierge services. I love that.
I like that.
Yeah, right,
I
right.
like that.
Downloads.
Yes.
Um, but on that eulogy, right? Like I go back and I read those 1 year, 5 year, 10 year my eulogy, usually on a weekly basis to remind myself of it. And now I redo that book probably personally once a year, maybe every 6 months. Those
Hmm.
activities, I keep the eulogies. And they are in with my estate documents. And
Yes.
one, I want my kids to read it and know what my big plans were if something happens and it's cut short, right? But isn't it fun to be like, wow, she wrote this in 2023. and she did
Yeah.
it before she passed. Like, how beautiful is that? And I encourage people to just get a piece of paper and just do that, right?
Yeah.
And leave that with your state documents if this hasn't prompted you to do some more formal planning and funding of your funeral. So
Yes.
good.
Yes.
All right. I was gonna give you the last word, but I took it. Any last words,
Oh, no,
Kathy?
no. No, I just wanted to say thank you so much. I really appreciate you reaching out to me and giving me the opportunity to actually speak about this. Uh, it can be, like I mentioned before, an uncomfortable topic. But once you talk about it with someone who understands or is on the same rapport as you, there's nothing uncomfortable about it.
No.
It's just, it's life.
It is
It's
appreciation for the beautiful life you lived and sharing it
yes,
with those who love you. That's it.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cheer yourself on. Kathy,
Yeah.
this has been fantastic. Thank
I
you
know,
so
Donna.
much. I
Thank
appreciate it.
you.
All right, and hopefully we'll have you on a podcast a year or two from now when you can tell us more about how you pivoted a little bit in your career to open this business.
Sounds
Mm-mm-mm.
wonderful.
I
I look
love
forward
it,
to
everybody.
that.
I'll tell you when it's
All
open.
right.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Kathy.
Donna. Bye bye.